Hey, how's it going, guys? And today, I'll be doing different type of content. I'll be doing a podcast here with Reggie, Bryant. So how would you describe yourself, like, to a person who doesn't really know you as, like, a YouTuber or...
That's a good question. Somebody who doesn't know me,
Yeah.
I would say that I am here specifically for young people. My channel mainly tailors towards young men. So if you figure between the ages of, say, 16 all the way throughout like 35, that's the main audience that I tailor to. I give advice about personal finance, investing, saving, budgeting, all that stuff. And I wrap it up in a way that kind of gives you bite-sized pieces of that, so you kind of get a bit of my journey in addition to how your journey would be. So if you're just getting started out, I'm not going to tell you about investing because you probably don't know about that. You're needing to start with like saving, budgeting, and getting your priorities straight. Once you get all that dialed in, then we talk about investing and building a fortune for yourself in the future. So that's, in a nutshell, that's what my channel is all about.
Okay, that's cool. So how did you, like, get started? When did you say, I had an idea on how to start, like, or how to build a YouTube channel based on personal finance? How did you really get started on that? What was your mind going through it?
Oh man, so I started in 2019. It took me to move across the country to even start having these ideas. Prior to that, I had graduated from college in 2017. So throughout that whole time, I was just working every single day, 6 to 7 days a week. And we're talking 12 hours per day over that stretch of time. So I really didn't have time to socialize, time to really do YouTube or anything like that. All I had time to do was eat, sleep, and work. And that was it. So that was all I did. And for a while, even since I was in college, I was like, I want to make a YouTube channel about something. I just don't know what. So when I finally moved across the country in 2019, I was like, I'm going to start this YouTube channel. Didn't know what it was going to be about. I thought about motivation. I thought about fitness. There's a lot of things I'm passionate about. So I had a difficult time. So I would say for about a year and a half, I was just posting kind of random videos. Some were motivational, some were financial, some were just about anything, about work, about how to interview for a job, just random kind of videos. And then I was like, I need to make this more of a niche-based channel. So I started thinking about sticking to one thing, and that one thing that I was most passionate about, that I felt that more people in life struggle with, isn't motivation or how to interview for a job. It's mainly personal finances. And some of that is not making enough money. Some of that is not knowing what to do with your money. And then some of that is not knowing how to invest your money. So that was how I kind of started that.
That's really good, because you know how schools are, right? They don't really teach a lot about finances. They don't really teach, how to start a 401k, how to start a Roth IRA, how to invest in the stock market. And it's really such a shame, because like the average American has less than $1,000 in their bank account, which is really, and that's partly due to school, like student loans as well. So people don't really know how to handle money like that when it comes to loans. And this is why I really like your channel, because it really teaches a lot of people about finances. And that's what school, like most people go to school for, and they don't even learn the basic stuff about finances. And it's really unfortunate. So let's backtrack a little bit. So after you graduated, you got a job. How is that? Because I know you mentioned this in your videos previously. How was that kind of an environment, your first job? Tell me a little bit about that. I'm interested.
See, you're going to get the whole story now. So,
okay.
If you're in college and you get, a good degree, like let's say you get an engineering degree or like a nursing degree or something that is going to pay pretty well compared to other fields of study, you're going to have this image in your mind of some like picture perfect future and how the job is going to be and that people are going to actually care about you. None of that was true. Okay, like nobody knew me. Nobody cared anything about me. All they saw was a snot-nosed 21-year-old kid, and that's literally how they described me. Just like they kind of treated me like the job was handed to me instead of like I didn't bust my butt in school or anything. Like I just woke up one day and was given that job. Basically, is how they looked at it. So I was for you and for your viewers who don't know, It was a management job in a manufacturing plant. It's a tire manufacturing plant, and it's one of the biggest ones in the world. And I started managing people who were like between the ages of, we'll say, 35 through 60, and most of them were in the middle. So most of them were old enough to be my parents, grandparents, all that stuff. So they knew the process that I was in charge of better than anybody. I didn't know anything. I didn't know the people. I didn't know the process. I didn't know how labor unions worked. I didn't know anything. So I had to learn everything from scratch. When it came to my leadership, none of them really cared about me. They only cared about themselves. So whatever made them look good, they didn't care if it made me look bad. The people that were reporting to me, they didn't care about me. They wanted to do anything they could to get in trouble. They reported me, said that I wasn't treating them right. Just all of these things. They wouldn't show me how the machines work. They would take long breaks. And so then when I start writing people up, then they want to get mad and start complaining even more. So it was a very adversarial environment at first. That was like my first 3 months. So pack all that into the first 3 months. After that, that was when things got kind of interesting, because someone actually passed away who was filling in for the manager on the other shift. So there's 4 shifts. It's a 24/7 operation. I was on nights, which meant the other shift had no manager. The person who was filling in, no, I'm sorry, there was a trucker that passed away. The person who was filling in for a manager went back to being a trucker because he was still hourly. And I had to fill in for both of those shifts.
Oh, wow.
Just indefinitely. Like, they didn't tell me how long it was going to be. They just said, hey, I need you to fill in until. And it took them a long time to hire another manager for that shift. So the next 9 months was essentially working every single day without really knowing when I was going to have a day off. And I had to basically put in for a day of vacation to get the day off. Then I switched departments, which was a very good thing for my career. And it was a slightly better environment, still pretty adversarial, basically the same exact thing, except I kind of had some days off. But then the last 3 months, they started working me every single day again. And that was when I decided that I was going to move across the country and work somewhere else that actually deserved a person like me that's going to actually put in the work for them. So that's pretty much in a nutshell what I went through there. But it's nothing like what they tell you it's going to be. It's like some careers are going to be different, obviously, but I had a completely different idea of what work would be like. I thought it was going to be comfortable. I'd go home at a certain time. I'd be off on the weekends. I'd be able to spend time with friends and make good money. But really, I just worked myself half to death and hated life for a little bit.
Yeah, I feel like some jobs, they do that, will make you work 12 plus more jobs or hours, and it's like really unfortunate. That's why you got to keep an open mind, like tailor your resume and like try to look for other jobs. But it was unfortunate that the first job that you had was something like that, where you just worked straight up. Into that topic, really. So what do you think about working hard in your early 20s, like nonstop? Because I know there's like a little debate saying, oh, you should work hard in your 20s, no sleep, nothing like that, or you should have like a work-life balance, or you should just enjoy, party. What do you think about all those things?
I'm glad you asked me that. This is something I need to make a whole video about, to be honest. And I think it's a pretty big debate. There's a lot of schools of thought, but in all, I'm not going to say that either school of thought is wrong, because you have the side that's like, no, you definitely need to work hard throughout your 20s. And the other side is saying, well, no, you don't. You need to rest and relax. My thought is, when are you ever going to be in your 20s again? You know, you might have a family. You might get tied up to a point where you don't have the same amount of time and the same opportunity to work hard. Neither one is going to be wrong. It's just going to depend on what your goals are. So if you're in your 20s right now and you're watching this video or something, if you want work-life balance, I'm not mad at that. But you're not going to get the types of results that the person that is working hard that's in their 20s, for example. So even if you have a good paying job and you have a work-life balance and you're chilling, you're relaxing, you're partying, you're having fun, I think that has far less character development than someone who actually went through the trenches. Because I can say during that time, we'll say it's between the time I was 21 and 23. That was when I was doing all that hard work, working every single day, right? It didn't take that long. Because I had that experience and that exposure, even though it sucked in the moment, now where I'm at today, I'm able to really help the people who are in the position that I was in, because now I'm their boss. I'm able to help them not go through the same thing. I'm able to help them learn a lot of those hard lessons. So I would say working hard is extremely important, because it's not necessarily just at work. I will agree with this. You need to have a job that gives you a work-life balance, but not for the reasons you may think. It's so that you have the time to work on your dreams and on your passion. Like for me, I'm able to work on my YouTube channel. I wrote a book last year. Like there's so many things that I've been able to do because of how I had a work-life balance. Working all the time at work, sure, it made me more money in the short term, but it didn't give me fulfillment. It didn't build my dreams or anything like that. So for the people who say things like hustle culture is toxic and stuff like that, I have to disagree with that. I mean, you're on this planet for a reason, and I think a good portion of that time is meant for you to work. Like even for those who retire early and make millions of dollars at a young age, they're still working every day. They're just on their own terms. That's the only difference. So they still wake up and know they have to get out there and get it. Like even if they're where they want to be, they're still hungry for what's next. And there's nothing wrong with that. And to anyone who disagrees with that, I would say if you do the same thing, you can stop at any time, but at some point you have to remember that work and fulfillment are often tied together. So that's my overall opinion on it. I'm not really for I think relaxing is important and not burning out is very important. At the same time, I think if you relax for too long and you don't do anything, you can start to feel like you don't have a purpose. And that's a terrible way to feel, because you're relaxing more and you're enjoying life more, but there's something in the back of your head going, well, I need to get up and do something, but I don't know what. And then time is just going to go by. So I would say time goes by anyway. If you're working on something, even if it's 2 hours a day, that's what I do with my book, by the way. I spent 2 hours a day, every single day, writing it until it was over with. And so that's just what I would say to anyone who's watching this video and kind of conflicted between working hard and, relaxing and partying and living it up. You can live it up later once you get to where you want to be, and you won't have the guilt factor there. But me, if I would have been partying and stuff when I was like in my early 20s and stuff, first of all, I don't think I would be where I'm at today. And second, I don't think I would feel good about that looking back on it.
Yeah, you'd most certainly regret it if you just did nothing all throughout your 20s. Let's talk about that book. So what inspired you to make that book, publish it? Was it because of your past mistakes? You learned from it? What's the whole story behind that?
The book is interesting. Ever since I was I would say a senior in college, I knew I wanted to write a book, had no idea about what. So it's kind of like the YouTube thing. I knew I wanted to have a YouTube channel. I wasn't sure about what. And I just saw that a lot of people write books. And I was like, well, if everyone else can do it, why can't I do it? And then I thought, well, I have a whole platform. I can make a book. And I didn't know what it was going to be called, but I knew something within me said that I needed to write a book. So one day I just sat on the couch, pulled out my laptop, and I just started writing. And it was mainly I just put the title of the chapter, which was the introduction, and I just started typing just my overall opinions and outlook on everything, and I just built on it from there. So I didn't really have an intention of just talking about my past mistakes or even my past experiences. I just knew I wanted to write a book that was going to educate people on personal finances, and what that turned into was my overall outlook as it is today. And then it had literally from chapter 1 all the way to the end, me describing my experiences and my journey and how it mimics other people's journey. But a lot of people's journey just stops in the middle of the book because they don't understand what's beyond that. And it's just about educating and building people up so they get to a point where they can start to earn more money and they can start to invest in intelligent investments to a point where they're able to build a good amount of money for themselves in the future, and they don't just have their 401k or even a Roth IRA to rely on. There's several different ways to invest. There's several different ways to save money. There's several different ways to do everything from budgeting to getting out of debt to leveraging your credit cards in a smart way. There's several different ways you can buy a car. I just think a lot of people don't know what their options are. And it's in an easily digestible book where you can actually read and understand what you're reading. There's not a bunch of complex terms in there. It's talking to you in plain English, just like I'm your friend sitting in front of you, talking to you, telling you my story. That's basically what the book is. So that just kind of happened based off of a single idea that I just didn't let slide. I kept having that idea for days and days, and then days turned into weeks. And I was like, let me sit down and write this book because I don't know if that idea is ever going to leave my head. So I did, and it turned out to something pretty great.
Cool. Did you make any like past mistakes in the past that inspired you to like create these concepts in the book?
It's kind of going back to what we just talked about with working hard. There does need to be a little bit of balance when it comes to working hard because family members can pass away in the process of that. And then you'll start to think, man, I was doing this when I could have been spending more time with this family member that passed away. Or you might go through a hard breakup or something during that because you weren't actually like paying attention to your girlfriend, or just those types of mistakes like that. Mine in particular was just feeling like I didn't spend enough time with my family or call them enough, stuff like that. So that's one mistake. As far as credit, as far as debt, not too many mistakes there. I do wish I would have done a little bit more research in college about student loans and what they really meant. And also, I mainly cover other people's mistakes that I learned from, such as going into college just thinking you're going to be successful because you went to college without really having a major in mind, or just randomly selecting a major without really knowing how much money you can potentially earn from being in that major and how long it takes for that. So just stuff like that is helping people learn from my mistakes as well as other people's mistakes like that.
Okay, what would you recommend? Like, let's say you're 18 years old, just got out of high school. What would you recommend them do to like figure out what they want to do? Because I know it's like crazy, like, you know, your parents are like telling you to do this, but you want to do this, but you're not sure yet. What would you recommend to that, 18-year-old?
The biggest thing I would recommend is look into a field of study that you're already interested in. Don't pick up something that your parents told you to pick up, like law school, for example, just because it sounds good and just because it has a reputation for paying very high. Same thing for being a doctor. I went to school with a bunch of friends who thought they were going to be in these different places, but it was purely based off of the motivation of their parents wanting them to get there. They weren't genuinely interested in what they were doing, and they struggled in it because with stuff like biology and chemistry, I think you have to have an interest in those things to do well at them. For me, I was good with math, I was good with physics, I was good with numbers, right? So engineering seemed like the necessary path to take. And then from a business perspective, I like the business number side of it too, and the financial side of it. So industrial engineering. And so that really coincides well with what I do today. So if someone is 18 and they don't really know what they want to do, the first thing they need to understand is, and this goes for everybody, it shouldn't just start at 18. I always thought it was crazy that your senior year in high school, you have to know exactly what you want, and you haven't really thought about it throughout your high school career. I think it should start mainly your freshman year. You should start exploring and start just shadowing people who are in professions that you may be interested in. That would be, obviously we can't go back in time, but that's just a mindset thing that I want to give everyone. But then if you're 18 and you still don't really know what you want to do, you shouldn't feel pressured to get into something right away. I would say if you don't want to go to college, that's fine. Go to trade school, get you a trade, learn how to weld, learn how to be a plumber, learn how to do something that still will pay you a lot of money while you work on learning what it is that you want to do. And if you want to stay in that trade, that's perfectly fine too. there's a lot of things you can do in this world. And I think the school system, as well as parents, have led to a lot of closed minds when it comes to careers and how to make a lot of money and doing things like that. Because college comes with a lot of debt. If you go to trade school, your net worth is technically going to be higher than someone who spent like all their time in school getting, say, their master's, and then they graduate and get like an 80 grand a year job. You could be making 80 grand or more with a trade. And that's what a lot of people don't realize, and that's what they don't understand. I would say the biggest focus should be get into something, even if it's part-time work. I don't care if you're working at McDonald's. Work, make money, so your parents aren't like giving you crap for not making any money. While you're doing that, start thinking about what you're interested in and what you want to do. And then just keep building on that and think about it every single day. Don't get into the comfort part of it where you're staying with your parents, you're going to McDonald's every day to work, and then you're coming back and then you're just relaxing and playing the game when you get home. Your 20s and 18 to your 20s, I would say, that's the time where you really need to think about your future. You really need to grind. You really need to understand yourself. And the more self-aware you are and the more you know yourself, the more things you know you're interested in. Do you want to be a manager? Do you want to be a business owner? Do you want to be an accountant? Start thinking about those things. And the more you think about it, the more you'll start seeing things that catch your attention. The more you'll start having the probability of meeting accountants or people who are in those fields, just because, like, that's just how it works. It's just like when you're interested in the car, right? You're looking at a car to buy, and you've never really noticed it before, but now every time you're on the road, you see that car that you want. It's like that when you start thinking about what career path you want to take. So that's what I would say.
Okay, that's cool. So speaking about jobs and like skill sets, what do you think the most important skill set to have is? Because we know that AI is taking over. It's gonna take over so many jobs, right? So I think it would be helpful to know, or at least in your opinion, what the most important skill set is, the most high paying skill set is, and like how'd you confront that?
AI is cool. I would say anything working with computers is going to definitely be valuable, knowing how to code and all that good stuff. But by far, the biggest thing that I found is the most valuable skill. It's going to sound kind of dumb, but it's communication. It's knowing how to interact with people, learning how to articulate how you feel, and how to also interpret how other people feel. And that's basically emotional intelligence as a whole, because everything is run by people. AI was created by people. So the better you are with people, the more doors you can get into. I know it sounds kind of like against the grain, but that's seriously how you get there. Like, think about it. Anytime you want to be successful at something, let's say you wanted to take up basketball and be successful in basketball. Well, you're not just going to be practicing by yourself and hoping that you just magically become good. You're going to probably work with somebody like a coach who has experience, and you're going to build up that relationship with that person. And they can say, well, I also know the guy that's been in the NBA, or I also know a guy that's, played throughout college. He's willing to come in and help you out and play a little bit with you so you can understand how it is playing at that level and stuff like that. I can get you into other rooms. I can get you into other basketball courts. It's just like that with communication with your career. So if you're not sure what you want to do, for example, talking to people who are doing what you think you're interested in doing is going to get you into more doors. So I'll use myself as an example. When I was in high school, I was like, I want to do engineering. I didn't know about all the different types of engineering. I just knew that engineering and math kind of coincided with each other. So I told my dad about that, and he knew an industrial engineer. So next thing I knew, I was shadowing that engineer, and he was an industrial engineer. Then I ended up going to college saying the same thing. I want to be an industrial engineer. I met more industrial engineers, and I saw other sides of industrial engineering. I saw the business side. I saw the engineering side. I saw the coding side, all of that. So I got to really get my hands in all of that. So I would say the biggest thing that's going to directly reflect with your net worth is going to be communication, people skills, and emotional intelligence.
Okay, nice. Yeah, I think that's covered everything so far. Thank you, Reggie, for talking about this. I really do appreciate you meeting up with me, taking the time. Thank you guys for watching. Very first podcast. If you guys find this content informative, please like, comment, share, subscribe. and see you guys in a bit. Peace.